Hi everyone, it's Alex Sparks here from Sparks Finance and I'm your local mortgage broker in Bathurst. Today's video is how to protect your most important asset. A lot of people think, yep, my most important asset is my home, so therefore I'll get some building insurance and I'll be all good. Now, as important as building insurance is when you have a home, the most important asset is actually yourself. This is an area that's often overlooked by people when they go through. You know, they do so many things. They've got insurance to protect their car, they've got insurance to protect their home or jewelry or whatever that might be. Very few people have adequate, protection mechanisms in place to protect themselves and take care of their family. So this is what we're going to speak about today. Now, a lot of people don't like the idea of bad things happening, and that's the reason why a lot of people don't go down this path. They think it's too expensive, but it's a hell of a lot more expensive to not think about these things and put a plan in place to make sure that you're protected. So the first thing to consider is around income protection. So this is essentially an insurance and protection mechanism in place to make sure that if you were in an accident, you can continue to have that your normal income or a portion of your income, normal income coming in after you've used your sick leave and different things like that. For example, the questions you need to ask yourself is, if we were to be in an accident, how are we going to support ourselves that period of time until I can go back to work? So that period could be 1 week, it could be 3 months, 6 months, 12 months or longer. And having to think about that, now that could come through in savings. We go, okay, well, we've got savings there to carry us through for the next 6 months. Okay, well, that's one option to look at. It could be my partner can go and get work, okay, but that also raises other things like other costs associated if you have children, daycare and things like that. It's really important to have this conversation with yourself and your family and make sure you've got a plan in place. But income protection is a really important tool to help you throughout that tough time if you were to be in an accident. The second thing to consider is life insurance. Once again, people don't like to think of bad things happening. People say, I've got life insurance in my superannuation. Great. Well, is the question to ask is that an adequate amount of coverage? A lot of people historically within their super, their super benefits for life insurance is actually quite low. So, if you were to pass away, you might only have coverage for say $200,000. If you're loaned $600,000, there's a $400,000 deficit there, and your debts might be piling up. So that would put your family in a financial disadvantage if one other party wasn't working. They might not be able to afford those repayments and keep that house going. So therefore they might have to sell and put them in a disadvantageous position. So it's really important to think about these things. Now, me personally, I've recently just reviewed my life insurance. So, as the sole breadwinner, we've got a kid at home, and my wife isn't working at the moment. So it's really important for me to look at that life insurance, not only to pay out debt, but also look about what kind of lifestyle we want to keep in the future. So if we look at that and say, okay, well, I want to pay out my debts, and then I want them to have, X amount of, income coming in over the next few years to make sure that they're covered during that time period. It's not just about how much debt you hold and that payout number. Once again, it's about that forward thinking and saying, well, I know that, our life might cost X amount, we want to have this amount coming in for a period of time. So getting a very, very, strict plan and understanding that, and everyone in the family understands that, to make sure that you're all comfortable with that. And once again, people don't like to think of the bad things happening, but it's so important to get sorted. Another thing that people don't think about is actually when you talking about super. I didn't even think of this one before, but just went in my head. But have you listed your beneficiaries in your super? It's very rare that people would have beneficiaries listed. So if you were to pass away, where is that existing super going? Does that automatically go to your partner? So make sure that you've got that in place. That's one thing. Everyone can just jump on their super account right now and go, do I have my beneficiaries listed within my superannuation? Now, I'm not a financial planner, so this isn't financial planning advice, but it's a simple thing that people can do to make sure that their asset is going to the right people. And the last one here is a will. Okay, now people say, I won't need a will for a while. Okay, but when you have any type of asset or family, having a will is such an important tool to make sure that your assets are going to the place that you wish them to go to. Having worked in the banks for a period of time, unfortunately, I've seen some people pass away that don't have a will in place, and unfortunately it gets really messy. There could be family conflict. People have different views on where that stuff should be going, and the process to go through the courts and probate is actually exceptionally difficult on the families. And obviously the emotional side of that is they're already dealing with your past and they have to deal with all this other conflicts too. And unfortunately, I've seen a lot A lot of broken families come from not having a will in place, and for them understanding exactly where your wishes for your assets and things will go. Now this is even more important once again if you have a family, because you know, although you might think, okay, well my kids for example might just go here, it's not the case. There's a lot of different, once again there could be some infighting within the family and who has the kids and stuff like that, so it's really important to make sure that a will sets out exactly what your wishes are, to make sure that, you know, if you do pass, that this is going to happen and they're going to exactly where you want them to go to. As I said, it's a very tough thing to think about, but this is why we do these things. So make sure that yourself and your family is protected. A lot of people say, oh yeah, but there's a cost to all this. It's not as much as you think. You know, having income protection, having life insurance, getting a will done, you know, for the sake of a couple of grand, to protect you and everything, you know, if bad things happen, it's a drop in the ocean. It's something that, as I said, you know, you're happy to sort of insure your car and stuff like that, but you're not happy to insure yourself. So this is just one of these videos today that I just thought I would do, because unfortunately, you know, the bad things do happen, and it's really important to make sure that you're protected and protecting your family. And you know, paying for these things and speaking to a professional is going to get you exactly what you want. If that bad stuff happens, it's going to help you and your family through that process if these bad things do happen. Look, if anyone wants any, you know, want me to point you in the right direction, we don't do any of this insurance ourselves, but you know, it doesn't mean, that's why I'm doing this video, because it's so important. We can point you in the right direction of some professionals to make sure that you can get that adequate protection in place. Thank you very much for your time, everyone. Look forward to speaking with you soon.